Hello, and welcome to another miniature painting video. Today I'm going to be painting a drow. Drow. So these are elves that live in the Underdark, and yeah, so much fun. Sorry. So my first paint that I'm going to use for the skin of the drow is Underdark Gray from the D&D Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments line. So I'm going to shake this up here. I'm going to squeeze a little out of my palette. Just a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to start with the skin here. And I think I kind of want to get a little bit of water. I don't know what that is, some kind of crust here. Just a little water here to thin out my paint so that I'm not covering up any of the details as I do my first coat. The more I think about it, I wonder if I maybe should have used a base coat of another color to start with, and then use this over top of it. But I normally like to start with a darker color as the base coat, kind of work my way from dark to light. And I honestly don't know that I have anything that is darker in a gray than this Underdark Gray. Oh. So I apologize again for sometimes painting off camera. That is not my intention. I don't know why I do it. Maybe because the light is slightly better a little further back, or could have something to do with just being a little more comfortable in that position. But I honestly don't mean to. I don't mean to. I feel like no matter how hard I try sometimes to get rid of all of the mold lines that are on these miniatures when you get them, there's always a few that I miss. There's just nothing I can do to get them all sometimes, I feel like. I just can't catch them all. But I do my best to keep them from being apparent on the final product. And this is a really fun miniature to have, I feel like. And Drow are really popular in the world of D&D, especially in areas where players might venture into the world called the Underdark. So the Underdark's a very interesting place. It's predominantly, I know about it from the campaign called Out of the Abyss. And it's not one that I've played myself, but I've listened to a group of adventurers playing through it on a podcast called The 20-Sided Realms. And I gotta tell you, it's a great podcast. I really enjoy it, and I look forward to their new episodes once a month. They were doing it twice a month, but yeah, they've kind of cut back lately to get ahead a few episodes. Okay, yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about where I'm going to be using this. In my campaign, sorry, I keep going off screen here. In my campaign, there is a Drow who shows up. That's not actually a Drow. It's a doppelganger. And a doppelganger is a shapeshifter that can take the form of any creature that is medium, small or medium. They can change into and be very convincing. It'd be very convincing that they are in fact that creature. So there is one of them in the campaign that I'm running right now that is disguised as a female Drow. So this is going to be perfect for representing that doppelganger. So doppelgangers are, now they're tricky. You can't really tell if someone's a doppelganger or not. in the world of D&D. It's not like they just come out and say, hey, I'm a doppelganger. You just gotta, figure it out through luck of the draw. So, yeah, sorry, excuse me. That is the first color. The next color that I'm going to go with is, I think I'm going to do the tights. Well, I might, you know what? I think I'm going to do the cape. And I'm going to, again, use the same contrast paint that I used in a previous video. It is contrast color Blood Angel Red. This is by Citadel. And again, I just really think that this is a, a great way to save some time. There is no doubt that sometimes it's really just about getting these miniatures on the table so that you can use them in your campaign. And honestly, anything that can save you a little bit of time is maybe worth checking out. I'm not going to use a whole lot of it. I'm going to put a little bit out on my palette, on my wet palette here. Yeah. And then I'm going to close that up because I have had some nasty spills before by not closing up the paint, especially with the Citadel line. I just seem like I am clumsy, and I am able to knock over paints like a pro, like a champion. I knock over paints almost like a bull in a china shop. It's just something I do. It's a skill, one of my abilities. And it gets real expensive with the Citadel paints because, well, let's face it, folks, they're not cheap. I would say the Citadel paints are probably one of the more expensive paints in the hobby, but they're good. And these contrast paints, ability to save some time, make them pretty desirable. I'm doing my best here not to let it pool in one area too much. But they make a whole line of these contrast paints, and there's a time and a place for all of them, I feel like, and I've been satisfied with this red. Okay, I'm going to switch to maybe try a different brush here. it's kind of one of these situations where you want a little pooling because it creates a nice dark color when this contrast paint pools just a little bit, but you don't want it to be very noticeable. You don't want it to get overdone. You need a good thick coat. I'm still trying to figure these out a little bit. Sometimes it's with these contrast paints, it's almost like you don't want to overdo it. For instance, with this color Gorgruntifer from the contrast line, and I've used it before. I used it with the goblins and the goblin boss. I used the Gorgruntifer, and it just did a fantastic job. But it was best, I feel like it did the best job when I just barely touched it. I don't know. I guess there's some truth to too much of a good thing. All right. So that is kind of what I'm looking at for the cape. I need to get in there just a little more, but I might hold off on that for now. Or not. Maybe I'll just put out just a little bit more of this whatever, what I said, Blood Angel Red. Yeah, some of this Blood Angel Red. Sorry, I'm still kind of getting to know these paints a little bit. I need to figure out what brush I'm going to use for going in here a little bit more. Honestly, I like this, I know I told everybody about this maybe once before, but this little Walmart or a Target brush is just fantastic. So I think I'll use a combination of, yeah, 2 brushes to do that actually. I'll use, sorry, the starter brush from D&D line. Yeah, this should work. This should work real well. Shake this up again. Get a little water here. I've used this brush so much it's falling apart. I gotta be honest, this starter brush from the D&D line, it was my go-to brush when I was starting to paint miniatures, and it's really taken a licking, and it's almost done in terms of its functionality. It's getting like, it's like wobbly, like a 5th grader's tooth, just ready to fall out. But yeah, I just like a milk tooth. It's so wobbly, but I just can't seem to stop using it. Okay, so I'm just dabbing up some of the water that's here on my brush after starting out with it. Now I'm just going to go in here and try to get, one technique that I use is I put the brush in the paint and I kind of twirl it around a little bit to get a point on it. And I'm finding, actually, as I'm doing this, that this is, when you're doing the base coating, it doesn't matter so much if you, kind of spill over into other areas. But for this particular job. I'm just really feeling like I don't want to get it all over the place. So I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to use a smaller brush. I'm going to use this detail brush here from D&D, and much finer tip. And apparently I didn't clean it out so well the last time I used it. It was a little sticky. It was a little. Yeah. Yeah. Much better. And even with all that talk about not wanting to spill over into other areas, it was mostly the hair that I didn't want to get the red on, because Drows have white hair, and it's just difficult to cover up white. It's difficult to cover up a dark color with white. And yeah, but yeah, still managed to do it somehow. Okay, what's done is done. So I'm going to do my best to cover that up with the white paint later on. Okay. Yeah, I feel like with this contrast color, this is one that might take a little extra coat to really get to opacity. Okay. Next for the tights. Okay, I'm gonna switch to heavy purple. Sorry, heavy violet. I'm gonna shake it up good. Apologize for walking off there. Okay, a little heavy violet. I'm going to put that right here onto my wet palette. And I'm just going to start in, yeah, with heavy violet on these tights. Yeah. I'm going to do, actually, these tights and this cape, this skirt cape, both. Goodness, I really need to get in the habit of thinning these paints down just a little bit more. You don't want them to be water per se, but it's a shame to cover up all the details right off the bat with a base coat. I'm just doing my best to get in here and get this purple laid down kind of quickly. bit. So yeah, the Out of the Abyss campaign is where a lot of the experience of the Underdark was for me. That's where I learned a lot about the Underdark, and the Drow. They live down there in the Underdark, and there's kind of this big city down under the earth called Menzoberranza. And it's sort of the Drow city. It's not a happy place. The Drow really, they're not known for their exceeding kindness, I guess you could say. When the Out of the Abyss campaign starts, all of the players have been taken captive by Drow. And yeah, that's sort of the first challenge in the game, or in the campaign, is escaping. And it's kind of dark. I mean, it's not called the Underdark, lightly. It's a dark place. There are some beautiful things, I think, that happen in the Underdark. That there are some interesting things that you come across. But for the most part, the whole goal of Out of the Abyss is to get out of the Underdark. Now, and escape these Drow. That being said, Drow doesn't just because someone's a Drow does not mean that they are evil. In fact, one of Dungeons and Dragons' most loved and, I would say, noble characters is a Drow by the name of Drizzt. And it's the main character from the R.A. Salvatore books that really lay down a lot of lore for the world of the Dungeons and Dragons is set in, the world of Faerun. Now, not all Dungeons and Dragons is set in Faerun. There's the ability to really create your own world in Dungeons and Dragons. It's just that a lot of the official campaigns that come out and much of the lore and the maps and the charted wilds are sort of set in this world Faerun. But it doesn't mean that you have to create your adventure there. If you want to think outside the box and get creative, by all means, that's what it's about. It's really why you're playing it, right? Because you want to be creative. So you don't have to take the world that as it sort of is handed to you. Make your own. Like Matt Mercer from Critical Role, that guy created his, he entirely created his own world. Yeah, just bit by bit, piece by piece. So, yeah, that's one way of doing it for sure. Okay, I do kind of want to get to the hair, and I guess my choices are Arctic White, and I have Dead White. Goodness, I honestly, I'm looking at both of these. What's the difference? I mean, I can't tell. Who knows? It's just... Anyway, I'm going to put a little bit of, I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm going to go for the Dead White and put down just a little bit of this. Just a drop here on my wet palette. That should be plenty. And I'm just going to use this for the hair. Maybe thin it out just a little bit. Give this a shot here. One school of thought is just that it's always better to thin your paints down and make 2 or 3 passes at whatever you're painting. And that's definitely great for not going overboard and covering up all of the details on these miniatures. Yeah. Oh dear. It looks like some of that red wasn't quite dry, and I was attempting to kind of paint over it a little bit. And now it's getting all over the place. So I'm going to bring in my rescue brush that I keep just for occasions such as this. And I'm smearing it all over, but that's all right. I'm gonna get over that very shortly. It's not gonna keep me from going to sleep tonight. I'm gonna be fine. And I'm gonna just bring in some more of the white paint. And after all that talk I said about going easy and not being heavy-handed with a color, I'm going to kind of splash that on there to really just kind of save that red from dominating this part of the mini. Okay, yeah, that is super annoying though. Excuse me. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to leave this alone or risk that little pink splotch in there. Getting out of control, because every time I feel like I make a pass with the white, it picks up some of the more of the red, and so I'm just going to leave it alone for now. Yeah, and maybe let it dry up a little bit, but that might take a few. I am now going to switch to the boots. I'm going to put down a little of the, excuse me, the heavy brown. I can never find it. I know you're in here. Yeah, here it is. I'll give this a try. I'm just going to put this down on the boots. On the boots. And then for the rest, sorry, this is yeah, I'll try to remember to show my paints. Heavy brown. And I'm just going to go in here. What I'm doing is more or less just kind of stenciling in a color just to kind of mark a spot where I want a color to be, not so much the color that it's going to be when it's all said and done. Some people, they really, some painters do a really good job with blending. They call this technique wet blending, where you put down one color and then you go back with another one, and then you clean your brush off and you go between the two, just kind of pulling one into the other and blend them together. So that's a technique that they use called wet blending. And what I get a kick out of is that a lot of painters, they use their mouth to clean the brush, and you know, I feel like that gets. I know the paint is non-toxic supposedly, but I feel like, you know, if you paint for years, that's a lot of acrylic you ingest. You know, you're eating a lot of plastic. I mean, you know, maybe not more than the fish in the ocean, but that's still quite a bit. Okay, so I'm gonna go for the heavy sienna. And I'm going to use this for the crossbow. So let me just put down a little of this. Just a little dab for the crossbow. And I think, yeah, I'm going to use the metal. I'm going to use gunmetal over top of that later. Not right now. I'm going to switch to my Vallejo synthetic. It's a number 3-0. It's just a little guy. It's so small. Okay. So I would love to tell you more about how to take care of your brushes. And I feel like this little brush, I haven't had it that long, but you know, it's been worked pretty hard. And I'm kind of wishing I'd taken a little better care of it. Now, there's some soaps that you can use out there, and you can kind of, they're soaps for paintbrushes, and you can kind of, when you're done with your paintbrushes, you can put them in some of this soap, and you can kind of twist the bristles together to kind of give it some more shape and texture, and keep it from losing its form after all of the hard work that it's done. And yeah, so I would definitely invest in some of that. I'm just gonna tell you, I use laundry detergent to clean my brushes, and yeah, I don't think that it's the worst thing for them, but I mean, it cleans them out. I think it does a pretty good job of keeping them in good order and good shape. Yeah, if anybody knows differently, if anyone thinks that maybe, like, this was what I was told by a painting instructor. And they said, yeah, just, it's a little trick that you can use to clean your brushes out, is putting the brushes in the dish detergent, or not dish detergent, laundry detergent, so Tide. And they said that the best was, they gave me one that they said was the best. And, I kind of forget what it was, if it was Downy, or I don't think it was Downy. It was like Tide, like the Tide Pods. No, I don't remember exactly what it was, but they said that there was one particular brand that worked really well, and I have since forgotten that brand, but that's okay. I think it really doesn't matter as much. It's just, cleaning your brushes out is very important. And you don't have to do it like every single time, but maybe, take a little time to go through and do a deep clean every so often, and that really helps to extend the life of your paintbrushes. But yeah, I think that the best solution is probably that paintbrush soap that allows you to kind of, it's like mustache wax and soap in one. It allows you to kind of like twist the ends of your brushes afterwards and really kind of get in there and shape them up. And I do put just a touch of that laundry soap in one container of water, just to kind of loosen it up a little bit sometimes. Let me get this. This liner brush, my Target brush. And this, I don't know if you can see it, but it comes in so handy sometimes because it's this liner. It's this trace liner. And yeah, it just really has the ability to just reach into some hard to reach places and just really get in there and put some paint down as it's getting in there. So yeah, it's good for that. Okay. All right. Well, almost. Okay. So, the next part that I want to paint is going to be, I think I'm going to use I'm going to use a heavy charcoal to kind of get some of the areas that I want to kind of have some dark color, some Like, it could be black, but I don't know. I kind of like to hold off on the darkest darks sometimes until I'm ready. I sort of like the idea that I'm building up the darkest darks. But, you know, sometimes when you're doing this, you want to start with your darkest darks right from the get-go. Just, you know, get them out of the way. And then you can build up from there. Go from the darkest dark and build up to the lightest light, or however you want to do it. There's no rules, I feel like. Of course, I'm wrong about that, but it feels good to say there's no rules when it comes to miniature painting. It's just have fun. Just do what you like. Just Bob Ross it, you know what I mean? Just get in there and have a happy little friend. Okay. So, So, yeah, I think maybe I will go in with heavy charcoal. And a lot of people, yeah, don't tend to use heavy charcoal. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use it. And yeah. Oop. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to use some heavy charcoal here on the armor. Instead of just going straight black, but so I'm going to shake this up. It's the extra opaque heavy charcoal, and I'm going to use this for the I'm going to use this as the base coat for some of the pieces that, you know, I'm going to come back in and put gunmetal around later. So I'm just going to start off here with some heavy charcoal and my starter brush again. And just a little bit of, just enough to kind of, just enough water to keep this layer flowing smooth. So I can still see these details when I need to come back in and put, yeah, just a little bit more maybe. Yeah. Gosh, it's just this fine line between too thick and too thin. It's like I want to get a good even base coat with this charcoal gray. Yeah, okay, so the Drow. So, yeah, the Drow, they came from, according to the player's handbook, they came from an earlier race of elves, and they got banished from the surface, and they followed the goddess Loth, and Loth led them down a path of evil. So Loth is a giant spider. It's like a giant Black Widow looking spider. And in the Drow's mind, reaching the pinnacle of perfection is becoming this servant of Loth that basically is like they got like a spider body. So I think that's, that's not something I would want for myself, but sure, okay. If that's, if that's what does it for you, then I get it. Kind of spooky, but okay. So yeah, Loth is pretty evil as far as things are concerned. But that doesn't mean that all Drow are evil. Like I was telling you about Drist. Definitely not an evil character. But many of the Drow do kind of get that reputation. So yeah, they usually have white hair, right? So that's what we've got going on here. And their skin usually tends to be this very dark, underdark looking, can be charcoal colored, it could be like a dark gray, but they normally have pale eyes. I think that red is kind of a fairly common eye color in Drow. And outside of Menzo Baranzan, there's not a ton of these Drow. They're not like, you don't run into them at the tavern in Neverwinter very often. Although you might. Not saying it never happens, it's just they're just not very common. Just something to be aware of. Okay, so as a Drow, you get an increase to your charisma score. So, I guess they're charming. They have dark vision, and they don't do exceedingly well in sunlight. So they have sunlight sensitivity. So dark vision allows you to see in the darkness as though it were just normal light. I feel like almost every race in Dungeons and Dragons 5e has dark vision. It's just very standard equipped on most races in D&D 5e. Almost everybody can see in the dark. Okay, so I'm going to get this line tracer brush back out because I keep hitting this crossbow and I don't see it, and then I hit it. So I'm going to use this to kind of reach back in there and get down deep in some of these areas and paint the rest of this armor. Again, so my plan here is going to be to come in with some gunmetal and really touch up some of these little points, and just kind of maybe use a little leather brown also in some of the places that should be leather armor. Almost got it here. This poor crossbow. Sorry, I'm leaving the area again. This poor crossbow, I should have painted it last. It's just getting hit left and right by this this paintbrush. Okay. All right. Last little couple of areas to kind of fill in here with the base coat. Okay. Touch up a couple quick spots with the heavy violet, and Yeah, just a few little areas here, a few little patches that need a little bit more attention. And then I will come in and start laying down some of the gunmetal, I think. And then it's time to wash up. Yeah. Okay. All right, so gonna wait for the charcoal to dry up here just a little bit. And yeah. There's one little spot here where I wanted to. Yeah. No. Yeah. Too much water. Oh no. The floodgates were opened. Okay. Not what I had intended. Okay, let's try this again here. Okay. There we go. Just that little. A little diadem. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do these. With charcoal. And so yeah, more about the Drow. So not, yeah, like I've been saying, not all Drow are evil, but their ultimate goal, it seems like, is to turn into a big spider, which is kind of scary. And one of the main Drow heroes, Durden, is a Drow who is always kind of a hero in many regards. So, leaving the city of Menzoberranzan, Drizzt has, been sort of a staple in Neverwinter for a long time, and yeah, makes a very compelling character in the D&D universe. So, well-deserved popularity. Let's see here. A little more purple along this edge. Okay. Now, yeah, I think I'm gonna start coming in with the gunmetal here. Just a bit more. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, one thing I like to do sometimes is to also just kind of start off getting where I'm going to have eyes. And one thing I do for eyes is I like to put in a dark spot first. And a lighter spot second, a white spot, I guess, for the whites of the eyes. And then finally, I like to use just a little red or something for the pupils. But you know, I think my reasoning for that is because you know, eyes are a little recessed. You know, they sink back just a little bit. So, yeah, you kind of want to start with the dark, and then you can put the whites in there. Okay, so now I'm kind of just looking at this cape, and I'm thinking, do I dare touch it again with the red, or is that good enough? It's honestly, I gotta say, I love this red. It's looking a little splotchy. Just being honest, it's looking a little splotchy. So I think what I might do is just come back in here one last time with the contrast colors and just see if I can even it out just a little bit. Yeah. Now, if I wasn't going to do the contrast colors for the cape here, what I really like to do instead is this zenithal highlighting, where it just really looks good, where you use different colored primers. And I thought I had one sitting here, but I don't. And you just use different colored primers, just kind of a black and a gray, to create these different gradients. And yeah, it looks, at the end of the day, it looks real nice. Looks real nice. And so you get that black and gray zenithal highlighting. And then you can use a red, just a light coat of red over top of it. And it just really, it works so well because red just blends nicely. Okay. On to, I'm going to do the gunmetal, and then we're going to wash up. And here it is. With this gunmetal, I plan to do the crossbow bolts. I use gunmetal a lot. It's one of my go-tos for metal, and yeah, just really powerful, really great, good base coat color. And then I usually go over top of it with a little silver. But before I get too far, I do kind of want to remember to get this little sideburn area right here. I think I did that off the camera, which I really do apologize for. I've just got to work on it. I've got to get better here. Keep practicing under the camera, and hopefully I will start to get a little more proficient as time goes on. Okay, so time to do my best to kind of block out some of the edges of the armor. And yeah. Do some of the crossbow here. Crossbow has a number of pieces I plan on doing in this. In this gunmetal color. There's like these little beetle pinchers on the front of it here. And then there's the undersides of them. And get these little crossbow bolts that are loaded in here. Get the little nubs on each of them. Okay. Now, there's also this central staff kind of area. go. And a lot of this is almost freehanding. But you can kind of see the little spots where. So yeah, I'm just trying to come along and get kind of the edges of the armor here. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just kind of trying to outline those a little bit there. And let me get these ones on this side. A little easier. I feel like some of these are probably leather, so I will go back and maybe, if I have a little extra time, try to get those with another little swath of leather. Yeah, these metal colors by Vallejo are they're really nice. Okay, and we're back. Sorry about that. I was right in the middle of painting this drow, and yeah, it told me my memory card had filled up on my phone, and I forgot to empty out some videos from yesterday, and there you go. So yeah, I'm gonna just continue here with this gunmetal outlining the areas of the armor. Yeah. So yeah, it's difficult sometimes to kind of get that right consistency where you don't have too much water. But you know, so there are times where you can have not enough as well. It's always a fight. It's a constant fight, I feel like, to maintain equilibrium. Okay, now this little part of the crossbow. As well as these guys. Sometimes you gotta attack it from both sides. You can't just go for broke all in one shot. You gotta. Do a painting pincier attack. Okay. Yeah, I went to see the movie Tenet the other day in theaters. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that just because they opened up the theaters, it was a wise decision to go and see a movie in them. With everything going on in the world right now. But, yeah, a friend of mine had kind of asked that we all get together. And it had been a while since we'd all gotten together and seen each other. So I figured that I would, and, you know, consequences be what they might be. It wouldn't stop me from spending a little time with some good friends, seeing a movie together. And so we went to see Tenet. And, yeah, it was, it was good, I thought. At the same time, I could see that most people would not have been able to keep up with it. In fact, it's pretty obvious while we were seeing it in theaters that most of the other people were confused. You know, there were some people who had snuck in, most likely. And the reason why I say that they had most likely snuck in was because they were sitting in our seats when we got into the theater. And most of the theaters today, I think for the most part, you know, you purchase your tickets online ahead of time. And so, yeah, it was kind of obvious that, you know, they feigned surprise. Like, oh, we're in the wrong seats? Oh, let's move. So, yeah, it was just... And those folks had a difficult time keeping up. And they left, well, maybe 2/4 of the way through the movie. So halfway through the movie, I guess. 2/4 of the way. Sheesh. Yeah, they left, you know, halfway through the movie. They got up and decided to go see something else for free. And so, yeah, we had a chance to discuss it afterwards, and that, you know, helped us a lot to kind of put together what was going on. But good night. If you didn't have anyone to discuss it with afterwards or talk about it with, oh, this poor crossbow, I swear. I just keep painting it over and over again. And it's because I don't see the tip of it here. I don't see the end of it. So yeah, maybe now that it's bright gunmetal, I'll be able to distinguish it a bit more, or maybe not. But I keep seeing my brush bend and contort, and I think, yeah, what is that? And yeah, it's the crossbow again that I keep painting. Okay. Ooh, that's close. But yeah, the whole reason why I brought up Tenant in the first place was because they did this move called a time pincer attack, where they came at something from kind of going forward in time and going backwards in time, and attempted to complete this difficult maneuver. And so yeah, that was the pincer is sort of a classic battle strategy, you know, where one of those ones that's been used throughout time. Okay, so sorry, I'm just getting to the point where I'm starting to feel the fatigue here, and thinking I might just hold off on this until tomorrow. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, you know, it might. A lot of times I'll think, well, the party is not gonna proceed this far by tomorrow, and then sure enough, they get to the point where I need to have this thing painted and ready to go. It's always nice to do more prep work than you actually need, if possible. As a dungeon master, you know, the feeling of being over prepared is a good one. But yeah, I'm feeling ever so slightly guilty about painting this for you know, the time that I've been painting it, and not even getting to the part where I am applying the wash. So I think without further ado, I will begin to apply the wash. Before I do that, however, I am going to put down one last bit of base coat just quickly, and that is going to be a dark gray color. I think I'm going to use yeah, I guess the heavy blue gray, somber gray, Stonewall, Ghost, heavy blue gray. Yeah, I'm just going to put this down at the base of the miniature. And just going to do some quick coverage here. And I will probably come back in and do a little rock and pony show here at the base to add some contrasting textures and fill this area up. But for right now, I'm just going to paint this little skateboard that this lovely female drow is riding on. And I'm just painting this so that it'll be a little bit of a closer match to whatever colors I do end up coming in. And I'll probably apply the ketchup and mustard treatment at some point here. Followed by a little umber wash. And okay, now okay, so I'm going to give that just a second to dry while I grab my the washes I was going to use on this. And okay. So the washes I'm planning on using are a shadow wash and the umber wash. And so I have my two washes. Where's my third? Where's my missing wash? I have the non-oil that I like so much, the glossy and the non-glossy. Okay. All right. So on the hair, I think I'm going to use a little of the shadow wash. And to apply that, I'm going to use this Vallejo P15 1 synthetic brush. And maybe just a dab of water. So this is kind of a black wash. This is a very light application of it here. Just to bring out differentiate some of the hair, strands of hair. Try to make it as light as possible, but still don't want to overdo it. Yeah, it's a little too late now, but I'm almost thinking that that pale gray wash might even be a little better. Application of a wash here. You know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to come back in and kind of blot this off as best as I can. And, I mean, it's not horrible. It does the trick, but, you know, any spot where it's kind of pooling a little bit is almost too much. Okay, so I'm just going to try a drop of the pale gray and see if I like it better. Probably not, but after my last attempt with this pale gray, I thought, you know, that's not bad. Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like this pale gray can pool a little more and ultimately not create such a striking contrast. Okay, now the next wash that I did want to apply was just a little of the gloss Nuln oil on some of the, you know, just delicately explore some of the areas that were gunmetal, more shaded with the gunmetal. Okay. All right. I think I will use a black wash for the rest of the crossbow here. And for my black wash, I'm using the Nuln oil. Ooh, maybe a little too much. Yeah, I'm just going to continue with this by taking out a few drops and putting it into my palette. And yeah. Okay, so and I want to go over the purple areas as well. Yeah. So this is going to hit pretty hard on a lot of these areas. But that's okay because I have plans to brighten them up. And yeah, just need to yeah, do it because it really brings out that contrast in a lot of the areas. So nice, so nicely. It takes washes a little time to dry, so you know you do have to kind of leave them alone, or you risk sometimes pulling up the paint. Okay, I'm going to put down just a little bit more of this black wash because it's going really fast. And I'm almost done. I'm just going to use a little Just a little of the umber wash here on the boots. My boots. I just wanted one drop, and wouldn't you know, I ended up with half the bottle. Yeah. What a waste. The drip bottles are nice because you can control a little bit better how much you put out, but you certainly can't put it back in afterwards. It's like toothpaste. It's just it's a one-way exchange. Okay. And I do see a little area here where I missed the base coat earlier. Okay, yeah, so that, honestly, that that black wash, right, it hits pretty hard. Now everything's all muddied and dark, but once we go back in and establish some of the colors, then yeah, it's really, it's nice to be able to do that. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for tonight, and thank you. I will make another addition to this video very soon, where I will continue the process of painting the female drow. So thank you again very much for watching, and come back for part 2. It's going to be a lot of fun. I appreciate it. All right. So get out there and get painting, everybody.